Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to this top 5 units video. So I've picked out 5 units for the Drukhari I think are really essential if you're collecting Drukhari. So this video is to help you really pick some decent units to have in your Drukhari army. So we'll go through them in reverse order. So I'll pick number 5 first, and we'll save the best till last and go through my top pick. Perhaps some surprises here as to which units I've chosen, but I'm trying to think of units that work hard during a game and are valuable to my Drukhari force, and so it's not always the biggest and toughest gets the top spot. Sometimes it's a smaller unit, but a unit that provides a lot of help across the army that gets chosen as the number 1 option. This list is open for scrutiny. You can agree with the list, you can change the order around, or you can talk about other units that you think should be added in. Check out the comments section below, especially if there's experienced Drukhari players. See what they're saying in the comments below this video. And remember, if you like the look of this Drukhari army and the colour scheme, then there is the painting tutorial here on YouTube, and then on the Plus channel there is the in-depth painting tutorial where I take more of an in-depth approach and paint one of the larger vehicles and show you all the process involved for painting that up. So some resources available for you if you like the look of this colour scheme, then follow those tutorials along. So what we'll do is we'll look up the rules. This is 9th edition now, and I'll give you points, values and so on as we look at these units. So without further ado, number 5 is Drukhari, Master of Blades here. So we'll bring up the rules and then we'll bring the model in as well. I haven't put him, he's made it in. It's not the key unit in my army for sure, but there's multiple reasons why he's in the list here, and it's not just hyper competitive we're going for, it's sort of model wise, narrative wise and so on. But Games Workshop, just to say, they have done an amazing job with this model. It's really, really good. Incredible model, really, really nice. A joy to put together and a joy to paint up. Easy to paint up as well because both arms are open, so there's good access when you're painting the model up. The base is fantastic as well. I really enjoyed putting the base together. I think I added some extra skulls around the base just to blend the whole thing in. I think it's well worth doing. Just decapitated a few enemy models here, but it's beautiful work Games Workshop have done. It's fantastic the base has been raised up as well, so he's sort of head and shoulders above regular infantry units. So there he is. I think if he can charge into the right target, he can cause absolute havoc. So a number of really good bonuses here for Drukhari. First of all, weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+. He's got 6 wounds, loads and loads of wounds. Really not too many characters out there with 6 wounds. 4 wounds, 5 wounds maybe is sort of the average, but 6 wounds is really good. Then remember there is the power from pains. There's going to be a 6+ feel no pain involved with that as well. 4 attacks base. Which sounds okay, but then you start stacking up some decent rules here. So the Demiglaves, or Demiglaves, you can fight the single blade, which is +1 strength, makes him strength 5, AP -3, and 2 damage. Or the dual blades, strength for the user, which is strength 4, AP -2, and 2 damage, but you're getting an additional 2 attacks, so 6 attacks. That's at 2s to hit with him. So at that point, he's okay, but then Murderous Assault. If this model makes a charge move this turn, you can choose to fight with this model an additional time. So he just gets to fight again as a standard rule, which is excellent. And then Lethal Precision. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this model, any unmodified wound rolls of a 6, add 2 to the damage characteristic of that weapon for that attack. So potential damage 4 if you're rolling A6s to wound. So very useful if he's up against characters, or if you're trying to use him to bring down heavier targets like dreadnoughts and vehicles and so on, then damage 4 is fantastic. The 5+ invuln save. Master of Blades, +1 to wound rolls for friendly Incubi units whilst within 6 inches. That's a brilliant buff to give to Incubi for sure, and I think he receives the benefit of that buff as well. So he's on +1 to his wound rolls as well, which puts him on, if he's using the single blade against like Primaris Marines, it'll make him 2s to wound, which is excellent. Tormentors. It's about leadership. It's not that when a Marautis is taken from an enemy unit within 6 inches of any Incubi units from your army, the result of that Marautis is equal to the highest leadership characteristic in that enemy unit. The test is failed and one model flees the enemy unit. So there's that to remember. It's not too significant, but all in all, it's pretty good. The ability to fight twice is fantastic. In close combat, his weaponry is excellent, and potential of lots of attacks. If he attacks twice with the dual blades, that's going to be 12 attacks from him. Tons of attacks, and the points for Drukhari 105. It's just over 100 points, and for that you get decent HQ. Obviously, he can be caught out and destroyed if he finds himself at the wrong place at the wrong time. So it's worth trying to protect him. I usually put him inside a transport vehicle like a raider, just to keep him alive and to manoeuvre him into position. And then he has that ability to move 7 plus your 3 inches disembarkation, so you can move quite quickly and get into close combat. So that's number 5, Drukhari, Master of Blades. But he's not the top. He's not going to win me the game, but he's a decent close combat. And a 2+ armor save as well. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. So he's in. So and the hobby side of it as well. Fantastic sculpt. If you have Drukhari and you don't have this model, he's a very nice one to add to your collection. Really enjoyed painting him. Out of all the Drukhari models, he was a pleasure to paint up. So Drukhari, keep him in the picture. He's just there. So that's number 5. Number 4 is, this may come as a bit of a surprise, but it's a certain combination that has got this model to the number 4 spot. The usual standard stat line, not really worth taking one. Succubus. Again, hobby-wise, fantastic model that Games Workshop have produced. One of the old, Drukhari's brand new. This one's one of the newer, older, if that makes sense. It's been around for a few years now, but another fantastic sculpt from Games Workshop. The whole pose and equipment on this model is fantastic. So Succubus makes it to number 4. You're getting a pretty good stat line, and there's a certain bonuses added on to this model just to make her really, really good. So movement 8, nice and swift across the battlefield. Weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+. Strength 3, toughness 3, 5 wounds, which is pretty good for the points you're paying. It's 60 points for her. No, 55 points for her. And then the glaive here is 0. Not paying anything for the glaive. And then I think this is important. I give her a blast pistol. A ballistic skill is 2+, and that blast pistol is a nasty weapon. It is close range, but it's going to give you strength 8, -4 d6 damage. She finds herself charging into some enemy character. You can try and use the pistol to soften the target up if you need to, or she's moving past the enemy vehicle. She can let off a shot with the blast pistol into the enemy vehicle, cause some damage, and then charge something else. Finds herself locked in close combat against a tougher target. Fire the pistol in your own shooting phase whilst in close combat. Pretty good. So, and for the sake of 5 points, it's a must. So yeah, it says here this model replaces Agonizer with a Splinter pistol, blast pistol, or Impaler. See, you've got 2 melee weapons as standard, your Glaive and your Agonizer. It looks fantastic sculpt wise, but usually going to choose the Glaive, and the Agonizer just doesn't get used. So you may as well swap that out for a decent shooting weapon. That's what I've done. So 60 point model, very, very cheap. So the Glaive's okay. It's +2 strength, so strength 5, AP -3, which is really good, and 1 damage. It is -1 to hit rolls. Once the game gets going and power from pain kicks in, you have +1 to hit rolls anyway. so that's sort of going to cancel that out, so it's not too much of a problem. She is on reroll hit run, reroll hit rolls of 1 for which cult units whilst within 6 inches. So she'll get her own buff. So 2s to hit rerolling 1s, or 3s to hit rerolling 1s. So nice and reliable in close combat. The 4+ invuln save, and that's all round. That's shooting and in close combat, so that's very useful. And then no escape. Roll off of an infantry unit within an inch of enemy models with this ability wishes to fall back. The unit can only fall back if the player controlling it wins the roll off, so you can keep units tied down, which is decent enough. There is combat drugs, so that can really help. Give her an extra attack. I think that would be pretty useful. +1 strength, maybe to help out a bit. +2 move, okay. +1 toughness could help. Toughness 4 instead of toughness 3. Serpentine +1 weapon skill, not really. And then +2 leadership, not really. Maybe the +1 attack I reckon would be the best option to go for with her. Giving her 5 attacks. Yeah, I think it's worth doing. So, at that point she's okay. But now, what you can do, and this is the witch cult that I go for. Cult of the Red Grief, speed of the kill. So she then gains, units of this obsession can charge in the same turn in which they're advanced, and you can reroll your charges. Now she's getting advance and charge, and that charge is rerollable. So now she's nice and quick, and now really reliable as well, moving across the board. Remember, if you do advance, you can't shoot the pistol, but that could be a trade-off to try and get yourself close, to make sure you make it into close combat. So there's that base ability with that cult just there. Then I pay, at the moment, I'm paying an extra command point to give her a relic, which is the Blood Glaive, and it's unique to Cult of the Red Grief. Succubus with Archaic Glaive only. You just replace that Archaic Glaive, and then you get the Blood Glaive, which is +3 strength, usually +2, so +3 strength, fantastic. AP -3, which is the same. And then crucially, damage is D3, not damage 1, but D3. And all of a sudden you're making her into a model that can cause 3 or 4 wounds, all the way up to a model that can cause 10 wounds, yeah, or more. You know, just it's a massive difference. It's huge. And then notice there's no -1 to the hit rolls either, so you're keeping your 2+ ballistic skill, rerolling 1s, fighting at strength 6 now, AP -3 and D3 damage. So it's a character killer potentially. Or charge into Primaris type targets and cause multiple wounds and bring whole models down instead of just doing 1 wound at a time. So just you're turning an okay-ish model to one that can really start having an impact. And you're paying with choosing an obsession, doesn't cost you anything. Choosing a relic just costs you a command point, doesn't cost you any extra points from your list. And then I give her an extra warlord trait as well, which again only costs you a command point, no actual points increases. So for a 60-point model, just stacking up all these bonuses to make her into something that's pretty good. So that warlord trait again is Cult of the Red Grief. It's +1 invuln save. So that 4+ invuln save becomes 3+, and that 3+ invuln save in 40k is very, very, very useful. Very, very helpful. So now she can charge into pretty tough targets and ones that can perhaps hit back harder than she can, but survive with the 3+ invuln save. So that's the idea with that. Or she gets caught out in the open, some las cannon tries to pick her off, 3+ invuln save. So very, very useful indeed. So that's number 4, the Succubus makes it into the list. Now for a bit of a contrast, something completely different. And it's, I think people are going to agree with this. Well, we'll see what the comments say about this one. But the Void Raven Bomber is in my top 5. Time and again, this has proved very useful. It's huge. It's a massive flyer, and it's an incredible kit. Look at the 4-engine supersonic jet that the Void Raven Bomber is. It's fantastic, and it's a bit more weight to it. You've got the Razor Wing jet fighter, it's okay, but this is the bomber here, and it's just got a bit more presence to it. It's more wounds than the Razor Wing as well. It's 12 wound model. It's 4+ save. There's the 5+ invuln save as well, and that's coming useful. You know, you can pick off a 5+ invuln save. Las cannon hit comes in. 5+ invuln save can bow you out of trouble multiple times. So, reasons I take this one: the Void Lances are pretty good. Range 36, assault 1, you get 2 of them. Assault 1, Strength 9, so especially Land Raider type targets, just giving you that 3s to wound. AP -4, so you're going to cut right through the armour. 3+ armour save vehicle just gets no armour save at all. AP -4 is great. And then D6 damage, you really can cause trouble if you roll well with that. You get the Void Raven missiles, so the Implosion missiles are not that great. They're both range 48, Assault D3, Strength 6, -3, 1 damage. I prefer the Shatterfield missile, giving you Assault D6, Strength 7, -1, and 1 damage, and you're rerolling your wounds as well with that. Then, useful if you're trying to pick off the last wound or 2 from a vehicle, you can just fire the missiles and try and force the wounds to come through. Then, there's a -1 to hit. Supersonic ability, hardly ever used, but this is the other one here. The Void Mine, which at the moment I think is pretty powerful. Once per battle, Void Raven Bomber can drop a mine on an enemy unit it moves over in one of its movement phases. After the Void Raven Bomber is moved, you pick one enemy unit that it flew over. You've got a 60-inch move, undamaged, so nice and quick, should be able to fly over a lot of targets. They roll 3d6 for each vehicle or monster. You could use that to try and pick a target off. It's got 1 wound left. You can fly over it and just try and pick off the last wound and do all of that in the movement phase. Or roll 1d6 for every other model in the unit, up to a maximum of 10d6. So you fly over a tactical squad of classic Marines. There's 10 of them, 10 dice, and you need a 3+. And that unit then takes a mortal wound. 3+, very, very reliable. So really, really good. So I take 2 Void Raven Bombers in my army at the moment for 9th edition. Just a great presence on the battlefield. One of the strong tactical uses for these is your firepower support, and also the ability to distract the opponent. It's a big bomber on the table. The opponent, the psychological thing of it, the opponent's not going to want to surrender control of the skies with these bombers flying around all over the place. So therefore, usually the opponent's going to try and bring the flyers down, and therefore the opponent's then firing at your bombers. -1 to hit, those 12 wounds to try and get through, trying to bring the vehicle down, and it means they're not firing other targets that you might have on the ground trying to get into position. So that's the 2 aspects there of the Void Raven Bomber: the ability to lay down some decent firepower, and then also to distract the opponent to absorb damage. And I take these with Kabbalah of the Black Heart. So units that do not have the power from pain ability instead gain the inert suffering bonus. So it basically means they get 6+ feel no pain, and that's going to help. 12 wounds. I'll be rolling up those wounds, trying to get 6s to try and keep the flyer alive, and it's a number of times it's really helped out. Rolled a good few 6s, and it's helped keep the vehicle alive, or keeping it into a healthier bracket. Void Raven makes it in. I rate them. I think they're great. Big presence of a model on the battlefield. Firepower's okay. Even better if you can get some kind of buffs going on, perhaps an Archon, rerolling ones to hit, and so on, just to make sure that firepower makes it through. And then the Void Raven, the Void Mine, I think it's great. Maybe a good ambush opportunity as well, where you can just fly over a unit that's been caught out and just let loose with some mortal wounds. So I rate all of that with the Void Raven Bomber. Number 2, second place, and probably a surprise. I've chosen this for the work that it does. It's not going to win you the game, but it works hard, usually, and that's the Venom. Very, very popular choice amongst Drukhari players. So often you'll see multiple Venoms being used by Drukhari players, just really for the work that they do on the battlefield. It's nothing in close combat. Its firepower is decent, but it's not game changing. But you'll see multiple Venoms usually in Drukhari lists, and they just work hard. Number of key roles for them. First is transportation. It can transport 5 Drukhari infantry models, other than grotesque, scourges, and skyboard models. So transporting a unit, and that could be a unit of witches. Unit of 5 witches will be gunned down within seconds on your average 40k battlefield. They need some kind of protection. Same for Kabbalah warriors. Unit of 5 of those wouldn't last would not last at all. They'll be shot to pieces, or can be shot to pieces very, very quickly. But you put them inside a transport vehicle, and now all of a sudden they're protected by the vehicle. Their speed increases from 8 or 7, whatever it is, up to 16 inches. The venom is nice and quick. So speed and transport capacity and protection for your passengers is excellent. Really is good. Then it's toughness 5. There's 6 wounds. They are -1 to hit with flicker field. They do have a 5+ invuln save as well for Knight Shield, so pretty good. And then for open topped, your models that are inside are able to shoot out of an open top vehicle. Very, very good as well. Yeah, so whatever you put inside has the ability to shoot out of the top. Usually in my list you will see a Venom and 5 Carbonite Warriors, so maxing out the transport capacity, and in amongst those Carbonite Warriors is a blaster, so you've given it like a tank weapon on top here, but the opponent's got to try and get through the Venom with the invuln save and the -1 to hit, and once that's destroyed they can then get through to the softer infantry. So it's just trying to add layers of protection to try and protect and shield your army as much as possible. 6+ feel no pain as well for Kabbalah the Black Heart if you go for that option. Then that's the main reason I think for taking these. The second reason is firepower support. They can kick out some decent firepower at long range. So Splinter Cannon, and I take 2 Splinter Cannons, so it's armed with 1, and that's interesting. I never really noticed that. Blade Veins are equipped, or Venoms are equipped to Blade Veins, strength 4, AP -1 in close combat, and they're 4+ to hit. Most vehicles are 6+, so it's not very significant, but it's interesting, that one. So Splinter Cannon, Twin Splinter Rifle, you can swap that Splinter Rifle out for an additional Splinter Cannon. I think it's well worth doing. So your Splinter Cannon, range 36, nice range. You can hang back with it if you want to. Then grants you Rapid Fire 3, so up to range 36 you can get 3 shots. If you get to within half range, which is 18 inches, you're going to get an extra 3 shots on top of that, so 6 shots. And then now this is where it really gets good. The second Splinter Cannon, therefore you're going to get 6 shots or 12 shots if you get to within rapid fire range, which is 12 shots from a humble small little transport like this is fantastic. So I just think there's a tremendous amount of firepower you can kick out with that. Splinter Cannons, they are poisoned. So vehicles is 6+ to wound, but other targets is a 4+. So it just means with poisoned weapons it's 4+ to wound. Half of them are going to go through whatever type of target. It may be a toughness 8 monster. It's going to be 4+ to wound. So it's sort of a universal wound roll that you're making, so that can be helpful enough if you're up against certain factions and units. So firepower's decent enough, a long range, medium range even better. There's an effort for the opponent to try and get rid of. They can shelter and protect your softer infantry units, and they're able to zip around the board at 16 inches a time. So very useful in 9th edition as you try and claim objectives, move out quickly, and again short games or shorter games now. Turn 6, turn 7's gone, it ends at turn 5, so having speed on the battlefield is a very useful asset for sure. So for the hard work they do in the grinding, firepower that comes from them, the ferrying around of key units, they're not the ones that plunge into close combat and hack the enemy down, but they've done the hard work of getting that unit in position in the first place. So perhaps unsung heroes might be a good term to use for the Venoms. I know a lot of Drukhari players, big fans of them. If you're a big fan of the Venom, then by all means leave that in the comments section below. I think they're 90 points a time now for Venoms. Yes, 60 point model, 2 Splinter Cannons, extra 30 points. That makes them 90 points a time. So they're not too cheap, but I think you get a pretty good vehicle for that price. Bring those back in. So the last option here, last but not least, and again maybe a controversial choice, and it's because of the work that they do. to a point where it does have an impact on the game, I think. It can win you the game. The unit itself doesn't win you the game, but its buffs do. Yeah, it's the Archon. A small model, but one that works very, very hard for your army. So the stat line's okay. I'm not really taking for the stat line. There is that level of protection with the Shadow Field, that 2+ invuln save. Useful, because you want to try and keep them alive. It can't be rerolled for any reason, but a 2+ invuln save is very useful indeed. There's 5 wounds. I usually give him an Agonizer and the Blast Pistol, just to make use of that range, or the ballistic skill 2+. But these are the main reasons for taking the Archon. First is the reroll 1's ability. So Overlord, reroll hit rolls of 1 for friendly Kabbalah units within 6 inches of this model. So often you're seeing games the Venoms are nearby. 12 shots at rapid fire range, rerolling your 1s to hit. A couple of extra hits can come through from that. Smaller pistol shots coming through from other units. Ability reroll 1's very useful. You'll often see him hanging around the Ravager with its lance weapons. 3 shots, really want them to hit the target. I roll a couple of 1s, well, the Archon's nearby, I can reroll the 1s. It's saving me using command points as well. So that ability is very, very useful. So often you'll see a lot of my army converging around the Archon just to try and reap the benefit of that reroll 1s and then splitting off as the game breaks up and disintegrates. But initially you'll see them clustering together just to max out with their accuracy. But it gets better than that. So I take a Relic, which again, very, very popular with Drukhari players at the moment. Writ of the Living Muse, Kabbalah of the Black Hearts. You do need to take Kabbalah of the Black Heart to get this one. For Archon only, reroll wound rolls of 1, Kabbalah of the Black Heart units within 6 inches of the bearer. So he's acting like a lieutenant now, so it's captain and lieutenant. Rerolling 1s to hit, rerolling 1s to wound. Now by the wording of this here, it's in any phase, so you'll get that in the shooting phase or in close combat. Excellent. I really rate that. It's so useful. And again, you've got lance weapons, wounding on 3s. You manage to hit the target, and then you roll a 6 and 2 1s. Disaster. But then rerolling your 1s can help you get a couple more hits come through. So what I'm saying is, as a model with his stat line, it's not really going to win you the game. But he can help out other units that can win you the game with his ability to make them more efficient with their firepower and in close combat. Usually it's firepower. So, I've got a Void Raven Bomber, I Snake Eyes on the shooting, got a chance to reroll those 1s, and then get 2 hits, the wounds come through and it pops a tank somewhere, finishes the tank off. That's game changing, and that's because of the help that's been received from the Archon. So in 40k, it's not always a case of the biggest and baddest looking units. It could sometimes be a small unit that works hard and helps other units out. That's really is the case with the Archon. Small model, but crucial for what he does. There's more. You can make him work harder. Let's just check here. So we've used a Relic, Writ of the Living Muse. That gives you reroll 1s to wound. And then do a Warlord trait. Kabbalah of the Black Heart, Labyrinth for Cunning. So he's rerolling 1s to wound, rerolling 1s for shooting, and now you can use him to try and harvest command points as well. So he's a real handy man to have on the battlefield. Whilst your Warlord is alive, roll a d6 each time you or your opponent spends a command point. So this is really good because it's yourself or your opponent. So potential, tons of command points being used. You gained 1 command point for each roll of a 6. So 6 pluses to gain command points. He's now helping out your army and harvesting command points as well. And he can be inside a transport vehicle by the looks of it, because it's as long as he's alive. So brilliant. So he's got triple reason now. Rerolling your 1s for shooting and close combat. Rerolling your 1s, that's for hitting, and then rerolling 1s for wounding, shooting and close combat. And whilst he's doing all of that, harvesting command points. So the most important thing for him in the game is to stay alive. So you bury him in the middle of the army, watch out for snipers, be careful not to get caught out. If he's surrounded by vehicles, it's hard for the opponent to reduce them down and destroy them all to get to the Archon. Infantry, more susceptible to being wiped out and you lose your screen. So I usually I try and keep him near vehicles to try and screen him so he doesn't get picked off. It's a disaster if he dies in the first few turns of the game. It's mission accomplished if every turn of the game he survives through to turn 5 and just grant reroll once to hit, reroll once to wound, harvest command points. That's a good innings from him if he's able to survive and do that throughout the entire game. Points values for the Archon: 60 points, nice and cheap. 5 points the Blast Pistol, 5 points the Agonizer, 70 point model. As I said, small but an exceptionally useful model, and he's really at the heart of my Drukhari army. It's like he's just there to enhance the gel that holds everything together. You know, units on their own, they're just hitting on 3+, maybe wounding on 3+, but then as the ones come in, which happens throughout the entire game, someone to help grant you the rerolls is just so useful. So glad to put the Archon in at number 1. That is the top 5 units for the Drukhari. As you may disagree, leave your own suggestions. You can leave a comment with all 5 ranked, whatever you choose. You can talk about why you choose those and what they do. I've tried to show you how hard some of these units can work and how vital they are to make your Drukhari army more efficient on the battlefield. You can talk about that kind of thing in the comments section below. That's the video. Check out the complete army. My army's finished now, revamped and ready for 9th edition, so you can check that out. Check out the painting tutorials as a resource to help you paint these up in this style if you wish. So regular painting tutorial here on YouTube, and on the Plus channel there is the in-depth painting tutorial as well. So please leave the thumbs up on the video, it really helps out, and a comment as well actually helps the video a lot as well when people leave comments also. But I hope the videos have helped to you, whatever level you're at with Drukhari, perhaps getting into Drukhari, perhaps you have some experience or even an experienced player. Then that is the 5 units that I would heartily recommend that you add to your Drukhari list and make good use of them in your games. That's the video. Keep a lookout for more top 5s on the channel. Thanks for watching and tune in next time.